All right, and good evening, everybody. It is Sports Talk Live with me, Nick Burt. It is Monday, May 29th, 2023. It is Memorial Day here in the United States of America. Just start out that it's not like a happy day, it's a day to remember all the lives of the men and women that have been lost to protect our freedoms, and we thank everybody for their service. It's a thankless job. Unless you get drafted into it, which that was a long time ago, it's your choice to do that. So thank you to all those who served and all of those who sacrificed their lives on this Memorial Day. A lot of sports things happening. Friday's show is jam-packed. We're going to recap a lot of the stuff that I talked about on Friday. And we got two games going on right now, a Game 7 in the NBA, Game 6 in the NHL. We'll keep you updated as seen fit. It is 3-0 Vegas Golden Knights at the end of the first in Dallas, and it is 22-15 Miami at the end of the first in Boston. So a lot of sports going on right now, and, let's just get into it. There's obviously nothing to review really in the NBA because Game 7's going on right now. Game 6 happened 2 days ago. There's no real point in recapping it during Game 7. So just a few quick news and notes, things that I've seen over the past, 48, 72 hours. Nick Nurse, tentative agreement to become the next head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, former Raptors coach, got fired at the beginning of the offseason. This isn't, it's a good hire, but it's not. I feel like it's not going to be the hire that gets, the 76ers over the edge, because personally, I think Nick Nurse had very little to do with that, the Raptors winning the championship in 2019. That was just Kawhi Leonard on a heater. He just absolutely, he carried the Raptors to the finals and then won it, obviously. And that Warriors team was plagued with injuries. So I don't think Nick Nurse had a ton to do with that. But, he's still an NBA champion head coach. So that does mean something. I'd like to hire for the 76ers because it's a guy that has experience in the league, has experience of being a head coach. But I also don't like it because of the reasons I just said. I feel like that's not going to be the person that can lead the 76ers to where they want to go. And the clock's starting to run out for the 76ers. Like, you got to have stuff kind of get going quickly. You're going to have contracts coming up. It's just not an ideal situation, basically. Other coaching news, the Milwaukee Bucks are hiring Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin. I believe he's been on the staff since Nick Nurse was hired to that 2018-19 season. So that whole Raptors staff slowly quickly, I guess, getting dismantled. It's an interesting hire. I figured the Bucks would go for one of the bigger names on the market, like a Nick Nurse or a Monty Williams, and they didn't. They went with an assistant coach that doesn't have previous head coaching experience. But according to reports, Giannis Antetokounmpo was the one that pushed for this hire. So you always got to keep the superstar happy and wanting him to stay in your city. So if this is the hire that they wanted, then it's a good hire, I guess. Like I said, he doesn't really have any head coaching experience, so it's hard to judge, but we'll kind of see what happens. It's going to be hard to tell with a player like Giannis on the team. It's hard to tell if it's the player or the coach, kind of alongside the same argument with the Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard thing, but only time will tell, basically, with this. Other coaching news, the Raptors, I don't think there are any front runners. I don't even know if there's names that they've narrowed down to. I don't know what's happening up in Canada because that team just does not seem to have direction right now. which is a shame because, like I said, they won the NBA title 4 years ago, and now here they are, and they're not even close to that. Other coaching news, the Pistons also don't seem to know what they're doing. It seems to be a stalemate in the front office. Ownership wants Charles Lee, the Bucks assistant, which I'm assuming he's not the assistant anymore now that there's a new head coach in town, and the GM, Troy Weaver, wanting Kevin Ollie. Reports that Monty Williams might be back in. It just seems like an absolute train wreck in Detroit right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I've thought since the beginning that with the Pistons, like you got to get either a big name or that was your only goal. And I thought you were only going to get that if you got the first overall pick. Obviously fell to 5, which is not ideal, but just remember you won the draft lottery 2 years ago. Don't act like the draft lottery is rigged against you. I thought if it was going to be Kevin Ollie, it would have happened already. The fact that it hasn't happened yet leads me to believe it's not going to be Kevin Ollie, and I don't know where the Pistons go from here, to be honest. It just seems like a boat without a motor right now, and you're just sitting in the middle of the lake or the ocean, and you're just waiting for something, and you've got nothing. So it's a slippery slope for the Pistons right now, because if the hire of Kevin Ollie goes through, a lot of fans are going to be quite upset, which Kevin Ollie is a good coach. You know, he is just such a great coach. He would work great at the NBA level. I think he would be a tremendous hire. I mean, he won a national championship at UConn. I mean, what else can you say? Kevin Ollie's a great coach. But we'll see what happens with that. So, moving on to the NHL. Again, news and notes, just because everything seems to be happening right now game-wise. We still don't have a finals. There's not a ton going on in the NHL right now. It sounds like the leader in the clubhouse for the Rangers head coaching job is Peter Laviolette, who got fired from the Capitals earlier this year, as I say, at the beginning of the offseason. And I think that would be a good hire. I just think that the core in Washington is getting old. And, you know, you're starting to see a regression in play, and I don't blame that on Laviolette. I think that's more just the talent that they've brought in. So it's going to be tough to tell. I think the Capitals are going after one of their former HL head coaches who was on the bench now in Toronto as an assistant. I'm completely blanking on his name right now. No real news on Maple Leafs GM job. I wouldn't really expect any, because that job is always interesting, to say the least. The news with Pittsburgh, it sounds like if Dubas takes the job, it's his. If not, we don't really know. Dubas, the Penguins and Dubas seem to be in agreement that if he's interested in the job, he's gonna take it, and he will be offered the job. I don't know if it's gonna happen, because I don't know if Dubas wants to get back into, just that quick after what has happened in these past 2 weeks. It's got to be rough. Just you go from thinking you're getting an extension for the team you've been working for 9 years, and now you're you went out, then you were out of a job, and now you're interviewing for another job. Also, reports are saying that he's waiting to see what happens with the Ottawa Senators ownership. That will be interesting to see, because Dubas was a Senators fan when he was a child, so I would think that he would pick the Penguins over, or he would pick the Senators over the Penguins if he was offered both jobs. I also think Ottawa's the better job, honestly. You're walking right into a rebuild that's almost over, and you have a much better shot of winning there than you do in Pittsburgh. But the thing is, the Ottawa job is not open right now. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, Game 6 right now, Dallas is losing 3-0 on home ice to Las Vegas, the Golden Knights. It's looking like it will be a Golden Knights Panthers final that would start, I believe, on Saturday, which that's almost like 2 weeks off for the Panthers, which is going to be very, very interesting for them, because you don't come back from that type of cold streak, to be honest. You don't. Obviously, the Golden Knights will somewhat be on a break, but not as long as the 2 weeks. And then, like I said, with the NBA one, I believe that would start on Thursday. And, I mean, Miami's starting to pull away, so it's looking like it's going to be a Nuggets Heat final. And then it looks like it's going to be a Golden Knights Panthers final. So, with that being said, let's just do everybody's favorite segment, quick kick around the pitch. A lot happened this weekend. A lot happened. So much happened. There was so much soccer going on. It was so entertaining to watch. So let's start in the biggest league, the Premier League. Ended this weekend. Nothing was really in doubt. Europe-wise, 1 through 6 was settled. 7th for Conference League place was between Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Brentford. It was always going to be Aston Villa. I didn't really see them losing or drawing that game, because Brighton was coming off of clinching Europe, and they weren't going to be in that position to make it a game, I would say. I mean, Tottenham did their best. They were playing what might be one of the worst teams in the league. We'll get to that in a second. And they won 4-1 on the road, but it was what it was. It's a thankful end of the season for Tottenham, and now the real fun begins of trying to hire people. No Europe for the first time since the 2009-10 season, so that is quite a bummer, but it's something that is needed. And then Brentford, they would have had to have a lot of things happen to even clinch the Conference League position. So let's bring up the table really quick. Obviously, the big stories are Man City winning the league again. It was inevitable. Everybody, was, this may finally be the year. It was never going to be the year that they would lose the league. Man City was always winning the league. Don't listen to anybody saying otherwise. It was always Man City's year. Once the calendar turns that year and you're in January, Man City turns into a different animal. And I swear they lose like one game and draw one game the whole year. So it was always going to be their year. Arsenal, whatever. You bottled the league. You were top of the table for 95% of the season. You know my thoughts on that. Man United, it's a somewhat bounce back year. Obviously, first year under Erik ten Hag. I would say it was a success for them. They got stuff they need to do in the transfer market. I'm sure they'll do it. It all depends on the ownership getting figured out, if the Glazers are indeed going to sell in the summer, which it keeps going back and forth, it seems, if they're going to sell or not. And it seems like the front runner is the Qatari bid. That brings a lot of money, so it's going to be interesting to see how that gets figured out, and then how Man United treat the transfer market. A team already owned by a Middle Eastern country, Newcastle United, finished in 4th place. Their highest finish since the early 2000s. They are in the Champions League for the first time since 02-03. This is just the beginning for them. They're going to be winning the league in 2-3 years' time, probably. This may finally be the summer we see them making those huge buys that everybody kept saying that they're going to make because of the new ownership, owned by the PIF, the Personal Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which is owned by the government of Saudi Arabia. Liverpool didn't qualify for Champions League, finished 5th, qualified for Europa League. It was always felt like it was going to be a rough year. Always the joke about Klopp and his 7th year and it always being a down year, and then him leaving. I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's actually going to be there for an 8th year for the first time in forever. Brighton and Hove Albion, great season for them, getting into Europe for the first time ever. Aston Villa getting back into the Europe for the first time in a long time, even though it's Conference League. Congrats to them. Tottenham, I'm sure I'll do a video when things sports-wise start to slow down and there's not much to talk about. It's just been a tough year. Brentford, another season in the top half of the table. I don't hate the way that they go about their business, but I kind of do. We'll get into that in a few. But another good finish for them. Fulham finished top half of the table after getting promoted. So I think their goal this year was to avoid relegation. Finishing top half was an absolute bonus for them. 11th, Crystal Palace. I wouldn't say it was a down year, but it was because there was more expectations coming into the year with Patrick Vieira. And then he eventually got sacked because they were starting to get into that relegation battle. Then brought Roy Hodgson out of retirement again, and he finished them in 11th. I don't think he's going to be taking the job full time. I don't see him doing that. If he does, I feel bad for him just because he deserves a nice retirement. 12th, Chelsea, obviously a huge and terrible year for them. No European football for them next year, but they seem to do good in years they don't have European football. So they hired Mauricio Pochettino officially today. That has sent a certain section of Spurs fans into just absolute whateverness. I don't listen to them because they usually don't know what they're talking about. Wolves finishing in 13th. They had an okay year. I felt like they should have been more in the relegation battle. They weren't. They were, but they weren't. Same with West Ham. They still got another game to play. Conference League final. That's next week. Again, a team that was in the relegation battle for 80% of the year. Moyes, he's got to go, I think, for them. If you want to get better, he's got to go. And, we'll see. Bournemouth, good finish for them because, that was just tough. Everybody was saying they were finishing bottom, and they didn't. So that's huge for them, staying up for another year. Let's see. Then Forest, another team. So all 3 promoted teams stay up this year. That's just absolutely huge because it shows that talent gap is decreasing between the Championship and the Premier League. Then we have Everton. So now we're into the relegation. What was down to the final day? It was between Everton, Leicester, and Leeds. And Everton are the one that come out on top and staying in the Premier League for another year. This was something. Man, this was something. Everton, I don't think they deserve to stay up. they've been so bad the past 2 years, and now they got another year of this. They got new ownership coming in. It's the final year at Goodison Park next year, moving into the new stadium the year after, which is going to bring its own financial challenges. It's an interesting time to be an Evertonian, and I mean, we'll see what happens with that. And then, like I said, it's Leicester, Leeds, and Southampton that go down. I'm obviously wearing the Leicester shirt today, the shirt that they wore in Europe for their trip around the Champions League after winning the title. It's rough for them. This is definitely not ideal at all for them. It's going to be rough getting back up. It's just not good. It's not a good situation. They're probably going to lose about, 40% of their players maybe. I think 7 out of their starting 11 are gone. And it's going to be, for me, it's going to be tough to see them come back up. Same with Leeds. I think Leeds are in the worst situation out of these three. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds pull a Sunderland and do a double relegation. They are just not in a good spot right now. Southampton, they're, I'd say, the best set out of the three to come back up next year, but even then, I don't think they're coming back up next year. The championship next year is absolutely amazing and brutal at the same time. I think there's 13, 14 teams that have a chance of finishing in the top 6 spots. So it's going to be a battle in the championship next year. And then, it's all to play for. We just ended the season. Obviously, we can't be making predictions when players haven't been bought and sold yet. So it's been a fun year in the Premier League. Feel like everything kind of finished the way kind of thought it would, but we move on. So to the Bundesliga, what a final day. We had the title come down to the final day between Bayern Munich and Dortmund. It ended up being Bayern Munich winning the title with a goal in the 83rd minute. And that put them top of the table, and they win the Bundesliga for the 11th year in a row. The Demons got to Dortmund again. They faced Mainz, who finished 9th in the league. Obviously, Munich were playing Cologne, which finished 11th. But you got to get that done, Dortmund. I said in the video on Friday that Mainz have won like 2 of their last 10, and the 2 were against Munich and Leipzig. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again against Dortmund, just because, why not? That's exactly what they did. I was shocked watching that. It did not look like, they just didn't come out good. They weren't playing with that urgency that you need to play with when you're going for the title. They looked like they were coming out for another game, and you can't do that. So Leipzig finished in 4th. Union Berlin finished in 4th, their first time in the Champions League. They were playing in the 2nd division 4 years ago. That's just a huge rise. They've went from, it was their first season, they didn't get Europe. 2nd season, they got Conference League. 3rd season, they got Europa League. And now 4th season, they have gotten the Champions League. So just huge congrats to everybody there. 5th was Freiburg, 6th is Bayer Leverkusen, 7 is Frankfurt. Still not decided of who is getting the Conference League spot yet because of the DFB Pokal final on Saturday between Leipzig and Frankfurt. If Leipzig win, Leverkusen goes to Europa League, Frankfurt go to Conference League. if Frankfurt win on Saturday, Frankfurt goes to Europa League, Leverkusen goes to Conference League. So that's going to be a game to watch on Friday, or Saturday, I should say. Other than that, nothing huge comes out of this. I mean, Bayern win the league again. You can't really be shocked by that. And other than that, the two teams that went down were Hertha Berlin, which it's kind of sad because you're losing like one of the big clubs in the capital city. But I mean, Union Berlin's in the Champions League now, so it doesn't really matter. And then it's just one of those clubs that you don't expect to go down, but they've been poorly managed from top to bottom for 5-6 years now. So it's not all surprising. Schalke will go down also. They're starting to become a yo-yo club. They went down 2 years ago. Believe they won the title last year. They won the title or finished second. And then they're going back down this year. And then Stuttgart will be in the playoff, which we will talk about right now. What a final day in the second Bundesliga. I mean, I was watching the Hamburg game because they are my club and in Germany, and that was something. They go up 1-0 after 3 minutes. They were playing, I don't even remember who it was, and it was a very German name, so I don't want to butcher it, but they were going up. They were going up in 5 minutes after their game ended. And now they're in the relegation playoff against Stuttgart. And this was something. So Heidenheim were down 2-1 going into their stoppage time. The Hamburg game was 3 minutes stoppage time. I believe the Heidenheim game was 7 or 8. Hamburg game ends. They were on the road. Their fans stormed the pitch. It's all celebrations because they think it's over. They're going up. They're finishing second. They're getting that automatic promotion spot. They're going back to the Premier League for the first time since 2018. Not even a minute later, Heidenheim are awarded a penalty. They convert. It's 2-2 now. This is all good. Hamburg are still going up. Fans still celebrating on the pitch. They're ripping up grass from the field, putting it in their beer cups. They're cutting down the goal nets. Shirts are off. Everybody's celebrating. It was then probably 5 minutes later, probably not that, 3 minutes later, news comes through of a goal in the Heidenheim game. Actually, they thought it was full-time whistle at first. So the Hamburg fans are celebrating again. It turns out to be a goal. It's a goal for Heidenheim. Hamburg have now dropped into the relegation playoff spot. Heidenheim have gone to the top of the table, and full-time whistle is blown not even a minute later. Heidenheim win the title. Darmstadt finished second, automatically promoted, and Hamburg fall to the playoff for the second year in a row. It was something to watch because those fans, as that news trickled in, it went absolutely dead where they were at. It was something to watch. I will say that. It was some entertainment. Yeah. As I say that, the Vegas Golden Knights have scored. It is now 4-0. The Vegas Golden Knights will be going to the Stanley Cup Final. It was a rough end to the season. I mean, they still got the 2-game playoff, but it's going to be Stuttgart that stay up. Stuttgart, I think, is going to absolutely dominate Hamburg. And, I mean, I hope they go up, but I don't see it happening. They needed that automatic spot, and they didn't get it. And now here we are. So, last thing, I mean, I somewhat talked about it. I talked about the EFL Championship Playoff, so the spot to go to the Premier League. All three of the playoff finals were this weekend. So for the Championship, League One and League Two, Luton Town get promoted. They beat Coventry City on penalties. I believe it was 6-5 on penalties. So they go to the Premier League. One of the lowest budgets in the Championship squad-wise. Now in the Premier League. It's a good story, but they're finishing bottom next year, and it's just going to be tough football to watch, basically. They'll get points. They will get points, probably off Tottenham, because why not? The away fans will be going through people's houses to get to the stands at the Kellenworth Road. Get ready for that to come back in August. They got to spend £10 million to renovate their stadiums to Premier League specifications. You'll hear about that all summer. But a team like that going up isn't doing anything good for the Premier League, if we're honest. It's not good competition when you know they're going to finish bottom. I'm saying all this, and they're going to finish in 17th and stay up. But we'll see. I still think they are going down. I think they'll challenge the Derby County. I believe it's 18 points, the lowest total in Premier League history. I think they're going to challenge that. They are not going to be good at all. Sheffield Wednesday, they played Barnsley today. That was the League One playoff final, so the winner gets promoted to the Championship from that. And Sheffield Wednesday went on a 123rd minute header. It was 0-0. We were seconds away from the final whistle and going to penalties. And Sheffield Wednesday, header back of the net. That was the last kick of the game. Sheffield Wednesday go up, and they will be in the Championship next year. The teams in the Championship next year, it looks like a straight Coca-Cola Championship, and by that Coca-Cola was the title sponsor of the Championship from like 05 to 010. Just looking at all the clubs in there, it looks like a Coca-Cola Championship. It looks so vintage Championship football. The only two teams that are really missing are Reading and Nottingham Forest, which one's in the Premier League, one's in League One now. It screams Coca-Cola Championship, and I absolutely love it. Championship's going to be absolutely amazing to watch next year. Like I said, I think there's 13 or 14 teams that can get into those top 6 spots. It's going to be awesome to watch. And then Carlisle United, they were playing Scunthorpe United, I believe. They win on penalties. Great save by their goalkeeper on like the 3rd or 4th penalty. I don't remember which one. Another great game. So they get promoted to League One. And then the two teams getting promoted from the National League to League Two are Wrexham and Notts County. So congrats to everybody that's getting promoted. I mean, that's always a huge achievement, especially for some of these clubs like a Luton Town, getting to a place they never thought they'd be back to. So, yeah, huge congrats to them. And finally, since the show on Wednesday will be after this game is over, we will do a Europa League final preview from the Puskás Stadium in Budapest, Hungary. It's going to be Sevilla and it's going to be Roma. There are a lot of European narratives on the line here. Jose Mourinho, the manager for Roma, he is 5-0 in European finals. Sevilla, they are 6-0 in Europa League finals. Somebody's O has got to go. We will figure out who it is on Wednesday. You can see the odds at the bottom. Sevilla's, now remember, this is after 90 minutes. So if you take the draw, that means they're going to extra time. So Sevilla is plus 165. The draw is plus 195. AS Roma is plus 200. I think the draw is the way to go here. It seems like the past 3 or 4 Europa League finals have gone to extra time or penalties. I know last year's went to penalties. I know the year before that went to penalties. don't remember about 2021. Or no, 2021 was penalties. 2022 was penalties. Okay, so that was right. 2020, I don't remember. I think that was extra time. 2019 might have been the last one that didn't go to extra time, and that's when Chelsea beat Arsenal, and I believe it was like 4-2. I think the draw is the play here. It's going to be a very fun match to watch, but I think it's going to be, you're going to see a lot of Mourinho ball. I'll be honest. It's going to be a lot of Mourinho ball. Sevilla is going to probably have 15, 20 shots on target. Roma is going to have 1 or 2. And Roma's going to play very, very defensively, and we'll see how it plays out for them. I don't think it will play out well. I believe Sevilla wins this game in extra time or penalties, but I also will not be surprised at all if Roma win this, because Mourinho is just magic in European finals. So with that being said, I think that's going to end it for today. The Golden Knights almost looked like they were going to score to put it to 5-0. An update on the NBA. It is halftime. The Heat lead 52-41. It does look like it's going to be the Heat going from up 3-0 to tied 3-3 to winning the series 4-3. Obviously, we will be doing finals previews on Wednesday because we should have the finals by then. It's going to be a fun one to watch. We'll recap the Europa League final. I'm sure something crazy will happen that will have to be talked about. And we'll find some other stuff to talk about. Maybe some hires get done tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon. So yeah, well, I just hit that mic. That is my mistake. Thank you for watching. It's been fun recapping what happened in soccer this weekend. A lot of craziness. So yeah, we'll be back Wednesday. Make sure to tune back in, right, same time, same place. Thank you for